What's up, everybody? This is Christoforou with the Duran. I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. And today we're going to talk about the wall. All right, Alexander, this is a topic that we haven't covered. We've kind of avoided it, but let's give it a shot. Everyone's talking about it, obviously. They're talking about the wall. They're talking about the government shutdown. They're talking about the State of the Union. They're talking about, Trump's move, which they call a tit for tat move, where he stopped Pelosi and their whole entourage from traveling to Afghanistan and Egypt and Brussels.
Yeah.
What they were going to do in Brussels and Egypt, who knows? What were they going to do in Afghanistan? Who the hell knows? Anyway, so we have all this news, but it's all centered around the wall. So I'm going to read you a tweet of Trump's, and then you can get in and explain your point of view as to what's going on. So Trump tweeted the other day, he tweeted on January 16th to be precise. There are now 77 major or significant walls built around the world, with 45 countries planning or building walls. Over 800 miles of walls have been built in Europe since only 2015. They have all been recognized as close to 100% successful. Stop the crime at our southern border. Alexander, from the UK, what's your view on what's going on in the United States with the wall and everything surrounding it?
Right. Well, it seems to me, first of all, that we need to begin with the starting point, which is that any country, any sovereign state, has a right to control its borders. Now, one can debate however much one likes whether building a wall is the right way to deal with this specific problem on the Mexican border. But the simple fact is, that is what Donald Trump was, that was what he was elected to do. It was part of his campaign. He campaigned on it. There is a very wide perception in the United States that there is a serious problem of illegal immigration from across the Mexican border. As Donald Trump correctly says, by the way, walls of this kind are known to make a difference. And it seems that there are people who have been to this border and say that there is a serious problem because, yes, it may be true we've had more illegal immigrants crossing that border in times past. What has changed this time is that they're coming over with their families and their children, and that makes it much more difficult for us to deport them when they are here. So it seems to me that this is a perfectly valid and proper decision to do, to build a wall. If the $5 or $6 billion it costs relative to what the United States spends in any one year in its budget is a very small amount of money. Donald Trump was elected democratically to do it. And as he absolutely rightly says, many countries build walls or barriers around their country. Britain has one. It was created for us by nature. It is called the English Channel. The Chinese Empire built one. It's called the Great Wall of China. Lots of other countries have walls around themselves. I don't honestly see what the issue is with this one. I refuse to see this as a moral issue because it clearly isn't one to me. And it seems to me that once again, the Democrats, for all sorts of reasons, either because they want to satisfy the large immigrant base that has now become a large part of their electorate, or because they want to block Donald Trump in everything he is doing, are being extremely unreasonable in trying to prevent this wall being built and making a moral issue out of it. Now, that is my view. I speak now as someone looks at this from London, but that is how it seems to me, and I suspect it is how it looks to many people around the world.
So you mentioned the moral play that Democrats are using. Why is that not a valid argument? I mean, I have my own opinion as to why it's just a bunch of bollocks, as they would say in the UK. But give us your take why you think that kind of argument doesn't stand.
Well, it doesn't seem to me to be any sort of moral argument at all, because, as I said, countries have a right to control entry to into the country across their borders. That is perfectly valid. Even the Democrats accept that. And walls are well known and accepted means to do this. I mean, it seems to me that to say that a wall is not the right way to control your border and that you shouldn't have any kind of wall at all is coming dangerously close to saying that you should have an open border and that people should be allowed to freely move across this. And listening to some of the things some people in the United States who are opposed to Trump are saying, it comes very close to that. And so, I mean, I don't see that as a moral issue here. I see it as a purely practical response to what Donald Trump says and a lot of other people think is a serious situation on the Mexican border, and that is how it should be treated.
A lot of people, though, and I'll play devil's advocate, a lot of the Democrats will say, well, most of the people that are coming into the U.S. illegally are overstaying their visas, or they're coming in through legal ports of entries, i.e. the airports, various airports, East, West Coast, wherever they're coming in. And it's just a small amount of people that are actually crossing through the border. So what significance does that have then for Trump to say, build the wall, it's going to stop the immigration, when the Democrats are positioning this as, the immigration, a bulk of the immigration is just really visa overstays.
Okay, right. That, what the Democrats are saying there might be true, but it is important to stress that is not a moral argument. That is a practical argument. And this is where we come back to the origins of this question. Maybe the wall is an overreaction to a problem on the border. But if it is not a moral question, and Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, and as the president has the constitutional right to assess these questions, if he was elected to build that wall, which he was, then it seems to me that it is not for Congress to go around and make a moral issue out of this and jeopardize the entire functioning of the US government by refusing to provide him with the money to do it. I mean, that's how it looks to me from London. Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things. God, they spent
$800
billion on military stuff. Just there's a military budget in 1 year.
I mean, this is small change. As I said, walls are known to make a difference. There is a view that, as I said, there is a problem on the border, that, as I say, people are crossing the border with children, and that makes it more difficult to deport them. Walls are known to be an effective way to deal with this issue. Donald Trump campaigned on that basis during the election, and he won on that basis. It seems to me there is no valid ground, certainly no moral ground, to stop him building the wall, and it is an abuse of the congressional power over the budget to stop him doing so.
Right, and I see it like this. I think the wall, number one, it provides a psychological deterrent as well. So a lot of people that are thinking about entering the United States may think, oh, well, there's a wall. So right away, you can remove a significant chunk of people who were thinking of just strolling over the border. So it has a psychological effect. But I also see it like this. If you have 5 or 6 holes that you need to plug, and you could say that one may be people visa overstays, another could be, they're coming in through boats, whatever the ways that people are coming into the countries, anchor babies, whatever it is, the illegal immigrants that are coming into the United States, and one may be crossing the southern border. You start plugging up the holes here and there, and you start with one, and then move to the next and the next. So it's not really so much a moral play as it is, the president of the United States saying, you know what? Let's deal with the border now, and then maybe a year from now we'll deal with visa overstays, and a couple of years later we'll deal with anchor babies and God knows what else. So, you take one problem at a time, step by step.
Exactly. That
Right.
is entirely right. I mean, to say that people coming through illegally through airports is not a reason for not building a wall to stop them coming illegally across the Mexican border. I mean, to take that kind of argument to say, there's the people are coming illegally through airports, and so we mustn't do anything on the border. It is essentially an argument to do nothing at all. Now, can I say something else here, which is, of course, that all over the Western world, this issue of immigration and illegal immigration is becoming politically very important. It is becoming politically very important in Germany, and in Europe, and it is becoming very politically important in the United States. Now, Donald Trump has taken a position on this, which was one of the things that won him the election. I think Democrats need to understand that, and need to understand that as president of the United States, what he is doing is perfectly valid, perfectly constitutional. It is not some great moral issue. It is addressing a problem people in the United States care about. If you don't agree with him, then stand against him in 2020 on open borders platform, if that is what you want to do, and put your position to the American people.
Exactly.
And see what happens.
Exactly. Fight it with policy and with logical arguments, not the whole morality thing, because morality doesn't hold any water. Yeah. So get to how Pelosi is now trying to flex her Speaker of the House muscles by banning Trump from the State of the Union, which is just beyond petty. Just a terrible thing for her to do.
It's not just beyond petty, but to my mind, it goes to the heart of this question, because I can absolutely say to you with confidence that if it had been President Bill Clinton or President Barack Obama who wanted to build that wall along the Mexican border, and there have been instances when American presidents, including those presidents, have taken action to protect the border, we would not be seeing any of this issue, any of this drama at all. What we are seeing is the Democrats looking for any and every way that they can to hit at Donald Trump. And they're now doing it in these puerile ways by trying to stop him doing what presidents of the United States have always done around this year, holding a State of the Union address. I think it is not just puerile and childish and malicious and silly. It is also a sign that the Democrats are losing the understanding that they are a functional part of the American government, part of the American legislative part of the American government, and that they are under a duty on behalf of the United States to behave in a certain dignified way. What this episode is doing is it's creating a terrible impression around the world, because it shows once again that the United States is not able to manage its affairs seriously and in an adult and mature way.
You know what really strikes me, Alexander, about what Pelosi did is that it's kind of in line with what's happening in general in the United States in the realm of censorship, deplatforming, not giving people a platform when they go to a university, like, Ben Shapiro goes to speak at a university and they ban him from speaking because he holds conservative views and conservative values. And you're seeing Pelosi kind of do the same thing, in that she knows that if Trump was to speak to the American people at the State of the Union and present his point and lay out his reasons for why he believes, they should allocate $5.8 billion to build the wall, it might resonate. And a large portion of Americans, they might agree. They might say, this guy's making sense. So instead of her letting him speak and then the Democrats can come out with their rebuttal, and we saw what their rebuttals look like last week when we saw Schumer and Pelosi on the podium. We saw what turns out then. They're deplatforming him in a way. They're just simply deplatforming the president.
That is exactly right. And may I add, all that you've just said, what you have just said, has also been said by a previous trenchant critic of Donald Trump, Senator Ted Cruz. And I would invite our viewers to look at our links, in which you will see an article, I think it's in the Washington Times, which reports Senator Cruz, making exactly that same point as you. They do not want Donald Trump speaking to the American people via a State of the Union address, so they have taken the unprecedented step to try and stop him doing so. And it is ultimately no different from all of these other bans and censorships and, watchdog NGO groups that have been set up trying to silence people who do not share the neoliberal Democrat perspective and view of the world, even though, as we both know, an awful lot of people in the United States and elsewhere don't share it and indeed oppose it.
Exactly. It shows that they're running scared. The whole neoliberal architecture is falling apart. You see it in the U.S. You see it in Hungary. You see it in Italy. You see it in France. It's falling apart.
Indeed. And it's becoming very worrying and very disturbing that these same people who claim to be defending something that they call liberal democracy are behaving in such an authoritarian way that it directly contradicts what they always say about themselves. We've seen that with the way they've lined up with the security and intelligence agencies and the Russiagate affair. We've seen this in the way they've tried to police the internet and close down dissident voices there. And we've now seen it, as you correctly say, in the most extreme form of all, which is that their attempt to deplatform no less a person than the President of the United States. I mean, it is extremely concerning, and that is what you American people should be worried about, it seems to me. I think a lot of them are. I suspect increasing numbers of them will be.
Yeah, I mean, if Trump is so bad, if Trump is so dumb, if Trump is such a puppet of Putin, if Trump is so brainless, if he's so racist and so immoral, you would let him speak, because the American people will see exactly what you're telling them, and they'll say, "Oh my God, how could this guy be president?" But they know that's not what's going to happen. They know that Trump is an excellent marketer. He's an excellent speaker. He knows how to relate to people. And they're scared shitless that his message is going to resonate.
Well, I think that's exactly right. I mean, can I just say something else, which is that, of course, Donald Trump, I think it was a week ago, did a television broadcast to the American people. And I've seen evidence that broadcast actually did his polling figures good and hardened the support for him with his electoral base. So I suspect that people like Pelosi saw that, and they said, well, if he's done so well speaking on television in that way, think what's going to happen if he comes to Congress and does a State of the Union address. So that's why they've done this. It is completely and entirely wrong, and it needs to be said so. I mean, this whole business, both of the wall, this completely ludicrous campaign around this, and this utterly awful business of trying to stop him delivering the State of the Union address, shows, to my mind, the depth of the problems in the US today, and in fact, dare I say it, the real crisis that there now is in America. And I think, as I said, US citizens, Americans, who value their democracy and their constitution should be very worried about it.
Yeah, they should let him speak. He's the president of the United States. He has a State of the Union. He should speak to the people, and the people should decide if they buy into his plan or not. It's that simple.
Well, of course they should. And let's go back to the not speak, we see that they change all the time. I mean, once it's, sometimes it's security, that, they can't guarantee security during the shutdown. I don't think anyone takes that seriously. Others that, it's to do with paychecks not being paid and whatever it is. When people cannot come up with a simple and clear explanation of why something cannot be done, something which should be done cannot be done, you know that they are following an agenda, and they clearly are here, and it's a bad agenda, and that people should be saying it.
And finally, in closing, I'll also make a point. I want to hear your opinion on it. I always say, don't, look at people's actions, not their words. I mean, I live by that rule. And you look at Trump, he was in the White House, he was in Washington all throughout Christmas, throughout New Year's. He's sticking around. He doesn't leave. He is a fixture now at the White House. He's ready to make a deal. Yes. Meanwhile, you looked at the Democrats, they were in Hawaii. They were about to bolt for another 8 days on a trip to Afghanistan and Brussels. I mean, you see their actions and you see Trump's actions. And I think you understand, who's more vested in trying to solve the shutdown.
Absolutely. I mean, if I may say so, and I come back to the earlier point in our discussion, this whole shutdown arises from an attempt of the Democrats to prevent Donald Trump doing that which, as President of the United States, he was elected to do by making an entirely phony moral argument out of this wall, which does not exist. So, I mean, you're absolutely right in saying that in this situation, Trump is acting in a serious way. The Democrats are not. They're not really interested in the wall. They are not what they're trying to do is embarrass and silence Donald Trump. And they're misusing their position as the majority party in the House of Representatives by going against accepted conventions in order to do so.
Exactly. Well said. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Guys, if you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below and go to the Duran shop, pick up a t-shirt. It really helps out a lot. In the description box, you will find links to our PayPal and Patreon pages. Please donate. That also helps us out a lot. And you can go to theduran.com and see all the links that Alexander is referencing for all the shows that we present to you. Alexander Mercouris, Editor-in-Chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, take care.